Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Here we are going to look how we can get started with Xcode and Swift playgrounds. So we'll install Xcode on our machine, set up a new project, and look at the overview of our Xcode interface and also for our Swift playground. Now currently I'm using a Mac OS, and the Swift is primarily used to build Apple devices. So the Mac OS is the best operating system for you to run Swift apps and also to learn and code Swift apps. Then I will start by looking how we can install Xcode and Swift playgrounds on a Mac OS. Now let's begin. The very best place to begin when trying to install Xcode is by using the Play Store. Now we go to the launch pad. Now we open the App Store. Now, when using this app store, you know that you are downloading the verified app verified by Apple, so you're not downloading any viruses or any other malware that can destroy your operating system or machine. So what we do, we go here and we search for Xcode. So it opens up. So we'll look at our results. So you see here we have the Xcode here. We have Apple developer and all that. So we need this. What we do is that we'll click here. Very good. And then we'll click on get. So when you click on get, you now finalize by clicking on the install. Now this will install the Xcode on your machine. Then currently I have the Xcode on my machine, so I will not go for to install this here. So for that you need your sign in, your Apple ID. If you're not already signed into your Apple, so you need to sign in, and then after signing in, the Xcode will be installed in your machine. So the Xcode is a very great tool for development, as you can see, since 1999 to 2024, and it's under the developer tools, and the size is 3.43 gigabytes. So you need a space up to more than 3.43 gigabytes for you to install it, and also you need a lot more than that, because when using your Xcode to develop, you will see that your developer or your indexing files will be too great, and it will consume a lot of space in your machine. Now the next place for you to install Xcode, if you can't install it here, is for you to open your Safari app or your Safari browser. Then you go to Apple developer. So you see the Apple developer is loading here. So this is how I kind of downloaded my own, because my OS version didn't support the current version of Apple of the Xcode. So if you're using Apple Sonoma upwards, if you're using Apple Sonoma upwards, then you need to go to the Apple Store via your Safari to download the DMG file of the Xcode. Okay, so let it load. Now this tab is where you now install and manage your simulator runtimes. This is where you can now install your iOS simulator, watchOS, tvOS, and Mac OS runtime. So while here, I think this is coming up. Very good, more download. So this is where you download the DMG file of your simulator runtime, your Xcode, if you can download it from the app store based on your Mac OS version. So this is where I downloaded mine. Additional tools for X beta. So here, Xcode 15.4 beta, you go to the details and then you click on this link. So you see it's an Xcode.zip link and consumes 3.17 gigabytes. So when you click on this, it will download the zip file, which contains a DMG file or app for your Mac OS. So you unzip and double click on the .gmg file, and you will find your app in your launchpad here. So you can see my Xcode slash beta. So this is the latest version. Now you can see the recent release is on April 16, 2024, and current date is April 29th. So it's like how many weeks back? So it is the current version. Now we have the runtimes here. Now these runtimes are just the simulators. So if we want to develop for tvOS, watchOS, iOS, or Vision OS. So this is 17.5 beta 2. So it runs with this Xcode beta. Now this is just a simulator for your tvOS. Now we have the watchOS 10.5. It's the simulator if you want to develop for watchOS. So you develop. So when you download this, you do not have the simulator runtime. So you need to download the simulator runtime from here, and when you run it, it will attach itself to the Xcode app. So now this watchOS is for simulator when you want to develop for watchOS. Now this is iOS 17.5 is for when you are developing for iPhone. So you have the iOS simulator runtime for iPhone and also for the iPad. Now this is the latest for the newly released virtual reality VR headset Vision OS. So you download this when you want to develop for the Vision OS. So we have other tools like the command line and also other previous versions of the Xcode and the runtime. So you can see there. Here is just the repository for all developer tools you have in Xcode. Sorry. So you just come here, search for whatever versions you need, and download it. So before you download, you need to read about how you can run and test them and how you can install them. So you see, this just tells you how you can install a simulator runtime, install and manage simulator runtimes in settings. So when you are done installing your Xcode and you want to install the runtime, you see you run this command first to launch your Xcode app, build it, and then install the simulator runtime. So this command here is just installing the watchOS 9.0 beta simulator runtime into the Xcode app. Very good. Now let's look at how we can install the Xcode in Linux system. Now let's open my Chrome tab. Now, like I said, the Xcode app is a macOS app, so it is majorly supported in the macOS systems. To use it in Ubuntu distro or in any Linux distro, you need to use a virtual box. So now let's type in how to install code on Linux and see what Google will give us. So now let me click on this bell dong running Xcode on Linux. So one of the very best bet is to use the virtual box. So you can see macOS virtual machine. As usual, one way to run macOS on Linux is via virtual machine with virtualization software like VirtualBox. We can set up macOS VM. So now let's look at how you can download VirtualBox in your machine. So you search for it, then you go to downloads. Now we have our download page loaded here. Now you will look for the VirtualBox binaries. So I think the latest version is 7.0.16. Now we go to Linux distributions. Now we have VirtualBox for Linux distributions. So you see, you now click on whatever distro of Linux you have. For this is for Red Hat, Red Hat 8, 7, CentOS 7, Ubuntu, Debian, OpenSUSE, Fedora, and you can also see all distributions. So you download the VirtualBox app meant for your Linux distribution. Then from there, you open your VirtualBox, install the macOS operating system. Then from there, you can now get your screen like this. Then go to App Store or Safari and download your Xcode. Now let's look at how you can also install Xcode on Windows. It's still the same thing because Xcode is not really supported. Like you can see, it's not, you can't use it in Windows OS. So the very best bet is also to use the VirtualBox. Now let's look at this wiki how on how to download Xcode on PC or Mac. So you see, when you're whether you're using Windows 11, 10, 8, or 7, Xcode is only available for Mac OS. So you need to download a virtual machine to emulate a Mac. So you download the VirtualBox, like we said previously. Now download any of the Mac OS operating system you want, extract it, then open the VM VirtualBox, create a new virtual machine, and then select your operating system to be OS. Set up everything, your hard disks, everything, the memory size. Click on next, then create a hard disk and then start up your OS. So it's now booted up. You go to the Apple Store, search for Xcode, so you can see it, and then run get like I demonstrated using my own machine. Then you click on install. When it's done installing, you open it and then click on agree, enter your Apple ID, and then you are good to go to create a new project. If this is too much for you, now there's another alternative, which is Swift for Windows. Now this is an open source IDE for just developed for Swift programming on Windows application. So you don't click on this. It is this one, Swift for Windows.github.io. So you click on this on the link. It's an open source project for only Windows users. So if you can download the VirtualBox and do all those long setup, you can simply use this for Swift learning. So you come here to the page and then click on this. You see current Swift for Windows 2.0. See the system requirement: Windows 10 64-bit, Windows 7 64-bit, how to use Swift for Windows. So when you download it, it will download this, then you have to install it on your Windows and then run. So when you run, the IDE opens up like this. So it's just like an interactive window where you now write out your Swift code. So I think this will be the best for Windows developer to follow on in this course. So you can compile, run, select the file you want to compile, then you see the logs here. So I think this is a very great app for Windows users to use when writing on Swift, so it can run on Windows. But if you have a very good memory space and very good RAM, and also your CPU is very powerful, then you can go for the VirtualBox and simulate a macOS environment. Then download the macOS, then use the App Store to download the Xcode. Then you can have the experience macOS users have. But if not, I think this is the simplest solution to download this Swift for Windows application and then move on. Now the next app that we need is Swift Playground. Now this is it, Playgrounds. Now this app is similar to Swift for Windows, just an IDE to create just an IDE it to create and run your Swift programs with ease without opening up the bulkier Xcode beta. So to download this for Mac users, you go to your App Store, then search for Swift Playgrounds. So this Swift Playgrounds just give you a 3D like model that replicates whatever you can do in Swift. So with it, you can learn Swift programming by moving around 3D objects and all that. So you learn how Swift programming looked like and how it works. So it's a very fun way to learn coding by moving about objects and interactive environment and spaces to learn how the Swift programming works. So we have our results for the Swift playground. So you have to click this. You see it, Swift playgrounds, learn real coding the fun way. So we click on it. Now I do not have the get button here. I have opened because already I have downloaded the playgrounds. So you can see it. The age is 4 years old plus. So you see it's a very fun way to learn coding, very easy, and makes Swift development experience very fun and beautiful. So you can see the 3D objects. You have this sidebar where you can write out codes, and it's highly interactive. So you go here, get it, install it, and you can run it. Then for Linux and Windows users, you can also do the same in your VirtualBox. Download this via your App Store and then you can run it. Then for Windows users that are not using VirtualBox, you can't use the playgrounds. Yeah, but the similar app you can use is the Swift for Windows I just introduced. Now, let's look at how we can create projects in our Xcode and also in our Swift playgrounds. Now, let's open up our Xcode, bearing in mind that we have it already installed. Now, we'll go to our Launchpad and click on the Xcode beta. Now, we'll wait for it to launch. Now, Xcode is quite heavy because it has a whole lot of features and suites built into it to enhance our productivity and Apple apps development. Okay, now we have the dialog up. Here we have the create new project, clone git repository, open existing project. Now at the right hand side we have our recently used projects or the object that we have opened and worked on recently. So you see how our Xcode version 15.1 beta 3. Now if you want to continue with any of the projects here, so you just click on them and double click on it, it will open it. And if not, you just have to either create a new project, clone a git repository, or open an existing project. Now let's open an existing let's create a new project. So we click on this. So you see we have this dialog opened up at the background of the main app. So here we have so many tabs. We have this multi-platform, the iOS tab, Mac OS, Watch, TV, Vision, Driver Kit, and others. Now this iOS app is used to create iOS apps like for an iPhone and for iPad. So here we have this app selected. So this is mainly used to create iOS and iOS app. Then we have the Documents app. This is for gaming. Now this is for creating AR app, augmented reality. Now this is for app playground. Then for sticker pack app, for iMessage app, if you want to create app used for in the iMessage. And then we have the Safari extension app. This is when you want to create an extension app to be used in the Safari browser. Now we have other like framework, static library, and metal library. This is for advanced use in an iOS app when we want to create either AR game and also in our mobile app. Then we have the audio unit, is an extension app. Then we have the Mac OS app. This is used when we want to create a desktop app for our MacBook Pro and MacBook Air. So we have everything here. This is for the main app, for the main app like we have like this, to create apps that have a feel like this. Now document app, this is for gaming, when you want to create a game for macOS desktop app. Then this is when you want to create command line apps. Then for Safari extension app, then we have the other framework and library, Metal XPCC bundle, iOS kit instruments, and we want to create screensaver and preference pane. Now let's go over to the WatchOS. This is used where we want to create app for WatchOS. Now you see we have this WatchOS 10.2 not installed. You will not be able to build or run on your project message here. So this is telling us we do not have WatchOS simulator for this. So we will not have the simulator if we create this app for WatchOS. So we will not have any preview that will be previewing and simulating whatever code we are running. So we need to get it. So to get it is either we go to the simulator runtime that we already seen, and then download the DMG file for WatchOS 10.2. So this 10.2 version is what will work in our current version of our Xcode editor. Now we have the TV OS. This is used to create for TV. Then also we see we still have the warning message here. So we do not have the TV OS runtime installed. Now this is for creating vision devices for the virtual reality device that Apple currently released. So we do not have the Xcode do not support the Vision OS. So developing for Vision OS requires a Mac with Apple Silicon. You will not be able to build or run your project. So in as much as we don't have the simulator runtime for this Vision OS, our current version of Mac does not support Vision OS. So I have Intel Iris. So this is an Intel powered MacBook Pro. So I cannot run this Vision OS in this app, in this my MacBook machine. So I need a Mac with Apple Silicon. Now we have the driver kit and others, but for now we are focusing on iOS, macOS, command line, and the apps. So to create an iOS tool, we could app. You make sure that this is selected. You click on next, then write the name of the app you want to create. So now let's call it Swift app. Now we have the theme selected, organization identifier, bundle identifier, the interface Swift UI. You can use storyboard. So for now we're using Swift UI, language Swift. And this Swift UI is a declarative UI framework for creating apps for Mac and iOS and also WatchOS. Then the language is Swift and the storage is none. You can either use Swift data or core data. We'll come to that as we go on in our course. Then after that, you can click on next, select where you want to create your application, then click on create. Now this will create your project folder there, and then start up the editor. It will load up everything and then start up the preview. So you see we have our code rendered here, the content view in the middle. In the left pane is where we have a series of tabs that displays our file structure and everything we have inside it. As you can see, we have this Swift app, content view, assets, preview content. Now in the middle is the actual code of the current file selected in the left, and in the right is our preview. So whenever we are developing in the middle, what the preview will be generated in the right, and this is the code that causes the macro code that causes the preview. So now our iOS simulator phone is coming up, and while it's coming up, let's explore other aspects of this IDE. Now we have the file structure here. Then clicking on this, we have the Git repository. So here we have the changes and repositories tab. We do not have the changes yet here, so they all appear here whenever you change or type, add, delete, or modify any file in our project folder. So all the changes appear here, and you can then start, stage, push, or commit them to our Git repositories. Now you can also come here to create your remotes if you do not have any. You see your stashed changes, the tags, recent locations, and all the branches you have in your current Git. So now for now we have main. So whenever you start a app in Xcode, the Xcode creates a Git for you and initializes you the main branch, which is the current branch it assigns to it. Now let's go over to the next tab. This is bookmark. So all the bookmarks you add appears here. Now this is the search window where you can type anything to search for a particular keyword in your file folder. Now this is your error tab and warning tab. So any error encountered, warning, errors box, all of them appear here, and the file name. So whenever you click on the error, it moves you to the exact location of the error in the particular file. Now here we have the Git flag, and here we have the debug session. So whatever debugging you are doing, or any debug points you have made in your file, all of them appear here when your app is running. Now here is the breakpoints also, where they appear when you add breakpoints to your Swift file. Now the last tab we have here is just shows you your local builds, the timeline here, both in the local and also in the cloud. Now this is the run button. Whenever you click on this, it builds your app for the simulator runtime. And then let me close this and open up content view. Now very good, we see our preview up and running. So you see we are simulating on iPhone 15 Pro. So you see whatever that it is here builds up and shows up here. So this is a simulator of iPhone 15 Pro. So whatever happens here will happen in a real device. So very good. Now we can set our preview so as we can see it very well. So whenever we change here in the editor, it will reflect in the right hand side. So we can add another image, just call it text, and say Swift UI, because so we added a text to this view, and you see it appears here. So you see it appears here. So that's how it works. So this for now is a iOS app. So we are building an iOS app both for iPhones models and iPad. So you can see it: automatic iPhone 15 Pro, iPhone Dynamic Island, iPad 11-inch, iPad 12.9-inch, iPhone Touch ID, and also you can simulate on a real device. So this is my iPhone 13 Pro Max that I simulated. So I can plug my my iPhone charger to my Mac, and then I can simulate this app in my real device of iPhone 13 Pro Max. So this will go off, and I will preview this code in my iPhone 13 Pro Max real device. So that's the beauty of using Xcode to program. Now, like I said before, this is an app for iOS and iPad. So we can double the view if you want, depending on. And also, one thing you should note that the Xcode editor is one of the most powerful editor I have encountered throughout my years of programming. It is so much very sleek and powerful to use, and has so much auto completion speed. Yeah, the auto completion speed is very fast, and you see it lists everything for you. And also you can jump to the definition of anything you want to use. Like now you see, jump to definition, it will open to open another tab for you, and there you can see Swift UI or Swift documentation. So there you can take a look at whatever you want to use, the parameters and all other properties that's inside the view, extension, or structure. So that's one of uh, the most powerful feature. Personally, I will say that the Xcode editor has. Very good. And also, there is also a plethora of right hand menus. Like here, you can refactor, you can show colors, you can create code snippet. Now look at a snippet that I created, dummy view, just to create a quick UI, Swift UI view. So if I click on it, it creates a UI view. But for now, let me remove it. So you can highlight on an view, and then you can do so many things. You can embed view to this, click on it, you can repeat this view, make it a conditional, group it, embed a list in it, z stack, embed an v stack and h stack, and also show UI inspector, create code snippet like we have seen. And then in these snippets you can also see controls that we have in iOS. You can see them here: layouts, paint, then other views. And also whenever which one you select, you will see the documentation at the right hand side. Now this one is just for controls. See action sheet, you will see controls on how to use them: badge, alert, control size, context menu. So you don't even need to use Google or ChatGPT whenever you are using Xcode to create your app. Everything is here for you. Then your code snippet, you still have available ones here. API availability check, the first statement. So you have all the catch statements. So whenever you want to execute code that might generate an error, you see all the snippets are here. See the for statement, function statement, guard statement, guard let statement. Everything are here. You don't need Google for your coding. Then here appears the images you add to your project. Now here is the color palette. So for now we have the accent color you can use, and then we have the icons. All the icons are listed here. All the icons. Now for example, let me just see this icon. Now we are using globe here. Now we can change it. Let me just change it. See how easy it is. Go to create code snippet, go to icons. Now let me change it to this pencil and scribble. Just have to double click on it, and then you see it changes. That's how powerful and sweet Xcode editor is. Now let's try to create a Mac OS app. First, let me close this project. Then I'll open the Xcode again. Then I'll go to create new project. Then go to Mac OS. Can create an app of it or a command line tool. Now let me create an app. Go to next and say desktop Mac. Then select everything: storage, none, language Swift. Then select my project and create. So you see it will create a desktop app for us. So you see how fast is it. Still the same thing as the iOS project. We have our left hand side, our code editor, and our preview. So this will generate the macOS preview here. So you see we are still using almost the same code. In fact, the same code as we have in an iOS. That's why I said that Swift and also Swift UI runs in the Apple ecosystem. So whatever you code, it will run in the iOS, Watch, Vision, TV OS, and also in the Mac OS. So once you learn Swift, you have learned how to create apps across the entire Apple ecosystem. That's how powerful Swift is. So you see, we have our hello world here. So you see how easy. Now, the Swift or the Swift UI knows the content and what you're creating on, and then transforms the view into the specified Apple device or the Apple platform. So that's all for the Xcode editor. Now let's open our Swift playground. Let me close this and then go to our launch pad, then open the Swift playground. Now this Swift playground, like the name suggests, like I've said before, is just a playground where you can test out Swift on your learning purposes. But to create a real world app that you want to deploy on the Apple Store for people to use, you need to use the Xcode editor because it provides everything for you to create. Swift playground is just like a learning playground for Swift projects. So we'll wait for the Swift program to come up. Okay, now we have our playgrounds app open. Now look at the playground that I've created, and now we have more playgrounds here. So playgrounds are just like scenes that you can use to learn Swift programming. Now let's try to create a new playground. So you see, we can either create an app or a book. So an app is just like when you want to use the playground to learn iOS development or macOS development using Swift UI, you can use app. So now let's create a new one. Let's call it app and then let's open it. So you see it kind of resembles what we saw in the Xcode editor. We have the left hand side. So and you see how minimalistic it looks. Yeah. So kind of like uh, a light version of Xcode. Now the left hand side contains the file and the folders in our project. Then the center is the editor, then the right is the preview. Then you see we have a toolbar here containing icons. This is for running the app. This is for okay the views. Then this one is for the controls. You can simply search any control you want, double click on it in, and it has an effect in your code editor. Now here is the icons that you want, the SF symbols, and this is the color palette. So it contains all the color that you want to use, or you can create new ones. So you see this is resembles what we have in the Xcode and makes it easy for us if we want to be test run some Xcode app or iOS, iPad or macOS app. This is where you do it using the Swift UI. Now let's close this window and see how we can create a playground app just for Swift only, not Swift UI. So we just create a new book and then you see it opens up. Click to enter code and then run my code. Now, when we click on this, we will see the console. So whatever we do, whatever we run here will appear here. So let's just print something. So here is just the text editor, the code editor where we can write our Swift code. So let's just print something. Just write here print. So let me increase it. Now write print and say Swift course. Now let's run this. Come here and click on run. Then you see it will run and print whatever we passed between these parentheses to our console. So it says Swift course. Now this function is just used to output a text or data to the console. So you see how it works. Now this playground like here is what we will use for the entire of this our Swift course to learn Swift programming. So be ready to set up your playground like this and then follow up on whatever code we do in this course. Then for those in the Windows machine, if you cannot install the VirtualBox, install the macOS system, and then use macOS from your VirtualBox, then I think the SwiftForWindows that I showed you earlier will be enough for this. So it's kind of like your own Swift playground, but for the Windows machine. Very good. So we have now set up our playground and you have seen what we'll be using for our Swift programming at the duration of this course. Then set up your own and make sure you have this set up in your system. Install the Swift playgrounds for those in Mac and SwiftForWindows for those in Windows system so that you will follow up in this course. Now in the next video, we will dive in straight in our Swift learning course. So we'll be looking at the basic syntax and variables in Swift. We're looking at the data types in Swift, how to declare constants and variables, what they are, and then type inference and type safety. That's what we'll look at in our next course. So stay tuned. Make sure you have everything in your system up and running. Make sure you have this printed in your console and it runs very well without any issues. If you have any issues, ping me on our Slack or send me a message. Then I'll help you to set it up. So make sure you have your Swift running for our next video course. We'll be diving in straight into learning the Swift programming deeply. So thank you so much and see you in the next course. Bye.